One. Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar, E-Plex Digital Switching in an RV World. Webinar is being presented today by Julian Potter, the E-Plex Head of Sales. Good afternoon, Julian. The presentation will last around about 45 minutes and we have a questions and answer session open. So please submit any questions you have and we'll aim to answer them at the end of the presentation. There will also be a copy of the webinar available to all of you that have attended for you to share with colleagues or refer back to, and we will send that out to you next week. Okay, over to you, Julian.
Thanks very much, Mel, and as Melanie says, good afternoon and welcome along. Thanks everybody for tuning in. So basically what we're going to do this afternoon is just look at the electrical systems in the RV market, in the RV world, and how E-Plex can fit in that kind of model. Obviously we do an awful lot of specialist vehicles, leisure vehicles, and also in the marine sector. So today we're going to just specifically look at the RV side of things. So first of all, why would you want to go into a digital switching role within your RV construction over a hardwired vehicle? Well, there's lots of different reasons. One of those is increased functionality. Sometimes you want to be able to give a few more of the toys, a little bit more functionality into the vehicle. And to do that with a hardwired system can be quite complicated, requires relays, etc. and things like that. So that's one particular reason. Slicker interfaces. People are much more used to touch screens, iPad control, that kind of thing, graphical user interfaces nowadays. So they want to see that moving into the RV market as well. And again, to do that interface from a graphical interface into hardwire can be quite tricky. So with the digital switching, that makes it much easier. Improved production times. Digital switching generally does help things become more consistent as things go through the build process. So that big consistency can help things move along a little bit quicker too. Reduction in weight. Being able to pull some of the wire weight down, because with digital switching and distributed power, as also we like to call it, you're starting to be able to pull down the cross-sectional area of the cable and be able to pull some of the weight back out of the vehicle as well. Weight obviously is fuel, so that's always a good thing. Also reducing the end-of-line faults. Again, because of that consistency of build as you go through with a wiring system. On digital switching, there's generally less points of control, less points of potential failure, less connections. So that helps with reduce the end-of-line faults. Also, remote access and remote serviceability is something that's becoming more and more required as people travel further, and we're all kind of now used to getting things when we want them and getting them now. And if we're on the road and something happens, we want to be fixed and carrying on with our journey. So being able to remotely access the system or the RV to be able to do control and monitoring and also service calls as well. So just to give you a little bit more background about why E-Plex Digital Switching. Well, we've got decades of experience, as I say, in the marine and vehicle market. And with that experience becomes an awful lot of knowledge that can help you put this system together in an efficient way. We can control and monitor both AC and DC circuits and devices with one system. So that's all together on one particular network. We've got a lot of variances and multiple touchscreens and tactile user interfaces so that you can select the right interface for the right environment. And then because of that type of interface, the touchscreen interfaces, etc., you can normally do multiple things from one place. Now, some of our clients that are using the system, both in the US and in Europe as well, we just put a quick couple of those up here just to show you. So LDV in the USA are a very large specialist vehicle manufacturer who do a lot of tactical vehicles, mobile command centers, and for them one of the most important things is for their customers is to be able to get on site very quickly and be up and running as quickly as possible. And with the E-Plex system, they found that that's one of their biggest benefits. They can the guys and girls can literally get on site with a specialist vehicle or the command center press a couple of buttons and the system is up and running and the truck is ready to go. From a leisure perspective, we do a lot of horse box type vehicles here in the UK, where people are obviously travelling to events all over Europe, doing lots of miles in the trucks. They've got the horses in the back, plus they've got their living quarters, very much like a kind of a miniaturized RV section in that middle there. And again, they want to be able to have all of the functionality and control and be able to monitor all of the environments in the vehicles. So they use E-Plex a lot for that. So how does the E-Plex system actually work? Well, basically, if you were to touch this light switch over here, for example, that signal gets sent up to the main control unit, and then the control unit tells a particular device to go and switch on or off. At the same time as all that's happening, in the background all the time, there is information running around the network from tank sensors, battery monitors, AC short cord monitors, generators, air conditioning, etc. And all of that information is going around the bus and being able to be displayed on any of the touch screens. So you can take that information and you can use it either just to monitor, or you can add it to an output and control things as well. So let's get straight into some of the benefits from a customer perspective of when they start to use, or when you start to use a digital switching system within the RV. What kind of benefits the customers instantly see? So let's take an environment like this where we've got the saloon area at the end of the day when you finish watching a movie or sitting chatting, and you're getting ready for bed. So basically within your kind of bedroom, you've got the ability to use your touchscreen light switch, and with one press, you can turn off your lights back in the saloon area. So you don't have to fumble around in the dark and switch stuff off as you go. You can go and get yourself into the bedroom and switch the lights off. Again, then when you're ready for bed, you can turn the lights off in that area as well. So this might be controlled by a completely different module. Now, the good thing is, again, so in the evening or during the course of the night, you might want to kind of use the bathroom or anything, but you don't want to blind yourself when you get up. So you might have a night light function. And again, from that same touch panel switch, you can press that light, it switches on the bathroom light. It also switches on the bedroom lights, but at a lower level, so at a dimmed level. So all of that type of interfacing and control is all done from the one light switch, even though it's controlling multiple different areas. And then again, when you're finished and you go back to bed, you can kind of switch everything off. So being able to add all of those functions together gives the customer an awful lot of benefit. Now, as you can see here, what I've done is laid out exactly how we're able to do this, and that is by obviously spreading the power distribution and lighting control modules around. The one light switch is just connected to these devices via the network. So as long as there is a device connected on this network, this light switch, if programmed to do so, can control it. So we're controlling bedrooms, bathrooms, and saloon areas, all from different modules from the same unit. And that's going to give you, obviously, that's how we get the multi-point control. The good thing about that is as well is you're going to start conserving power. So you're not using your generators so much, you're not using your battery power so much, because you're not leaving lights on in areas because you might want to go there, a little bit later. You can actually switch things off and be able to kind of control them from different areas. A much more added level of convenience, is given to you because of that. And obviously security too. So you can imagine, obviously, if you're in bedroom at night or if you're in, watching the TV, you want to be able to put security lights on outside. You can do that again from multiple different areas around the truck. Another one might be kind of like a cinema scene type scenario. Most of the RVs these days, or a lot of RVs these days, are kind of built in with these hideaway pop-up TVs. So a press of one button could raise the TV, close the electric blinds if that's what's fitted, and instantly dim the lights as well. So the whole scenario is all done in one press of a button. So again, much more added convenience. It can also be done from an iPad. We've got iPad control, we've got PC display based controls. The good thing about the iPads and any Android touchscreen devices, people are used to being able to use these. This is what they're used to at home, constantly being able to kind of surf the internet, read books, whatever, and then also you could then flick to a control page on your iPad and be able to switch lights on and off, view the tanks, view the batteries, whatever it is that you want to do. We've also got smartphone control as well. So if you're outside of the vehicle and you're sat, enjoying the evening, enjoying the campfire, you don't have to kind of then get up, go back indoors to, maybe open the canopy or close the canopy if it's the end of the day. Turn on any outside lighting, monitor maybe power, see what's going on. You can do all of that from your smartphone. The smartphone just links directly into the RV and displays exactly the same amount of information, if you wish, as what's on the main touch screens within inside the RV as well. As I said before, one of the things that people are starting to want more and more is remote access and support to the RV. So while you're away, you want to be able to know that you're supported. So customers can monitor and control the RV from anywhere in the world. So if it is left at home and it's plugged in and you go away on vacation elsewhere, take a flight anywhere around the world, you can check in, you can check your security cameras, you can check the devices, check power, that kind of thing, and just make sure everything's okay. You can also do a customer service login ability. So if you do have a problem with the RV, with any of the systems on the trailer, you can phone your kind of warranty or your customer service department of your particular vehicle, and they can log into the truck and see exactly what's going on. Potentially even do any reprogramming, let you know if a module is currently not responding or anything like that. So it can all be done remotely. You can also get automated alerts and automated emails if you do have an issue. That can automatically be sent directly to a customer service representative, or home if you're away, to your phone to let you know exactly what's going on. So being able to kind of get that access, gives the customer that sense of security, knowing that wherever they are, they can get support when they need it. Now, there's also the ability to, when you're looking at digital switching, one of the things that we look at is weight saving. So because if you go back to the basics of being able to redistribute the power, and then also look at the cross-sectional area of the cable that you're using within those areas, you can start to pull more and more weight out of the vehicle. If we just look at this scenario as one example, if we were to look at the control of the rear tail lights on a 34-foot trailer, you've got your main harness coming in from the back of the truck that's towing, and all of those wires are going to carry on all the way down the whole length of the trailer. They've got to be heavy load carrying cables all the way up to the back, and be able to control all of those devices. So if you're doing that with a digital switching system, basically you're going to have a smaller input module mounted at the front of the truck, the truck or the trailer. The inputs come into that from the basic connector and just tell that input what's going on, the turn signals and brake lights, running lights, reversing lights, any 12-volt auxiliary power maybe for reversing cameras, etc. That information goes straight into the small input device, which is mounted here, and then literally all you've got is a network cable running that 34-foot up to the back. At the back here, you've got your power distribution module, and you'll have a power cable going to here from whichever power source you've got locally in this area. And then you've just got smaller branch cables going obviously then to the devices, to the brake lights, to the running lights, and to the reversing lights. So there's a lot of cable that's being kind of pulled out of that area, because all you've got then is your data cable telling the information, taking that information along and doing the controls. If we just look at that from an example, we just did a very, very quick calculation of what that means. So a 14 gauge wire, £12 per foot, or £12 per 1,000 foot, shall I say. You divide that up, multiply that by the amount of cables that you're pulling out, and over that 34-foot length, you're pulling out about 1.6 pound of cable. Now, that might not seem like an awful lot, but don't, bear in mind that that is just one particular example. And if you look at that 1.6 pound over however many vehicles, it's not so much just one particular customer or one particular vehicle that you're looking at, but if you look over the construction period of an entire range, of an entire fleet of vehicles, so 18 different model types, 200 per year, all doing around 2,000, 3,000 miles on average on a trip, that's an awful lot of weight that's not being taken around, and that's just one particular example. So wherever you are in the vehicle, whatever lighting control, monitoring is being done, as soon as you start to do the digital switching and start to pull that wire mass out, it all starts to add up quite considerably. So with the modules, obviously it's best to locate those modules as close to the devices that they're switching as possible, and that's how you're going to start to pull a lot of that wire weight out. So as I say, locate them as close to the respective loads as you can. Always ensure accessibility for manual override or maintenance. The modules that we use for the lighting control, device control, the switching modules all have a manual override capability, so that if there is some kind of network problem and there is no communication going to the modules, you can get to them, you can still turn on your lights, the circuit breakers inside the modules still operate fine, and you can still control all the devices that you need to. Also, there are normally inputs that are required, in certain areas as well. So things like warnings for open windows or warnings for open slide outs, etc. So those input limit switches can be wired directly into an output module as well, and send that information over the network up to a device, up to a screen, to give you that information, to give you that feedback that that something's happening. So let's have just a quick look at just some of the basic modules that we use on an E-Plex system are kind of the go-to modules, things that you use as standard. So a 400 or a 450 ECM clock, as we call it, is the main system module. The main module controls, takes the program, stores that information. It also doubles as a touchscreen and a basic display, so it's a good way of getting some of that basic information, for batteries, tank monitoring, etc. That can all be displayed on the screen. All the graphics or the graphical template that you see there is completely customizable. It's an overlay that goes inside, so it can obviously be branded, and you can then be able to put pages and controls directly from there. It's a good way, as I say there, to grow slowly with adding monitoring and control in a little bit later. The power distribution modules themselves, this is our 8-channel power distribution module. So it's basically a controllable digital fuse box. So inside there, in all of those 8 channels, there is a circuit breaker. Now, it's not a conventional circuit breaker, it's a solid state circuit breaker. So that means we can program it to be anywhere between 0 and 15 amps. So one channel can be set to 2 amps, one can be set to 5, one can be set to 3, to 10, to 7, etc. And all of those are controlled by the programming. Those circuit breakers switch on and off to give you control. They also have PWM dimming capabilities, so they can obviously dim lights to different levels. And then those modules can also be used as inputs as well, as I said earlier. So you've got 8 channels that can be split between being an output, being an input. You've got your positive and negative feed in here, and then on this terminal strip here is all of your outputs for your lights, your fans, your pumps, etc. And then you have your E-Plex connection here, which is going to the network. As you can see, there's the diagram which shows you exactly how these things are wired into place. So very simple, and this type of connection up here makes it much, much easier to wire. We've also got our 416 TPS. Now this is our touch panel light switch. So it's a touchscreen interior switch, customizable button styles. So the layout is completely customizable and logos can be added if needed. There's up to 10 buttons per panel. And again, this is what gives you that multiple area control to give you lots of feature benefits, because this one touch panel obviously just connects to the network, but can control multiple devices around the vehicle. We've also got a standard rocker switch. Again, this is quite important for use in potentially for outside environments, but also you can use it in the driving position as well. If it is in a combined kind of full RV, obviously not so much in the trailer side of things, but it gives you that tactile feedback. It's got programmable LEDs, fully programmable switches, so they can be momentary latching or a mix of both. And you can get it in lots of different sizes, starting from 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then you can switch multiples together as well. So, but again, great for kind of the outside environments or into locker spaces too. So away from the power distribution and control side, we've also got the tank monitoring as well. So we've got a couple of different modules that you can use a conventional tank sender with. If you've got something that's resistive, you can wire that directly into one of our resistive sense modules, or you can use one of our pressure tank gauges, pressure tank modules. And that's great for being able to be used in odd shaped tanks. So if you wanted to create tanks that maybe go around wheel arches or go into different areas of strange shapes, pressure tank sensor works very well for being able to take calibration steps within those tanks and be able to display that 0 to 100% a little bit more effectively. We can also do monitoring and control of batteries, shore and generators. So current monitoring, voltage monitoring and frequency monitoring as well if you're on the AC side. Again, being able to take that information, put it onto the network. You can inhibit control if you want to. If you are getting low on power, you can decide whether you want to use certain powers or not use certain power. So you can take all of that information and can combine that into the output modules as well. Also, again, for generator monitoring, you can use that same AC power monitor there that we can use for either the shore cord, or you can put it on to the generator as well, so that you can see exactly what power is being used and where, and you can split and divide between the two as well. So being able to pull that information off and stick it up on the network is actually really very powerful. If you do use any Victron chargers, inverters, anything like that, we have devices that control and interface directly with the Victron products as well. So that's a real benefit. If you're moving into more AC power and you want to do AC control as well, we do have 8 and 16 channel circuit breaker modules, which will allow you to control any AC power devices within the trailer or the truck. Again, all of that control is done via the touchscreen. You have manual override capabilities back onto the AC power modules themselves. But again, being able to mix that same control environment of AC and DC power on the touchscreens, pulling it together, again, gives that benefit of being able to have a nice environment, better graphics, sleeker controls. So those AC power breakers, they're fully selectable, so they're conventional circuit breakers that you would then power via the relay box that we have there. And then also it's got single pole or double pole capabilities. So depending on what you want to switch, we can do that. So that gives you a bit of an idea of being able to move from the DC into the AC, being able to do monitoring and control as well. So everything can all be pulled together onto one specific network. And then other networks like entertainment, or maybe even CAN bus for the chassis, etc., can be pulled into being onto the E-Plex. We can still display those, but that just is slightly different modules and slightly different programming. So I hope you found that of interest. I hope you found that informative and just giving you a bit of an idea of what we do, how we pull the E-Plex systems together into the RV world. If you want to get in touch, you can get in touch with us here in the UK. Or if you are based in the US, where obviously there's an awful lot of the RV market built, over there. Our master distributor, Naughty Tech, also have an awful lot of RV experience. and they will be happy to assist you as well. So again, thanks very much for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you and working with you.
Thank you, Julian. That's brilliant.